Hey everyone, my name is Wedge and this is the Manosaurus Tournament Report. Normally we cover standard events, Star City Games Opens and Grand Prix specifically. This past weekend, Star City Games Open in New Jersey was cancelled due to severe weather. Therefore, we were left with Grand Prix Paris, a legacy Grand Prix. Let's review the crap out of this. For those of you that are new to the game or just need a refresher on what the legacy format is, let me help you out. Much like standard, this is a constructed format where you make your own deck prior to the event. It must have 60 cards, you can have a 15-card sideboard, all the normal rules apply. The rule that makes Legacy special is that it can use cards from every single legal Magic set since Alpha. There is a ban list, so you won't see any Moxen in these decks, but it still makes for an insane format. You'll see why in a second. Let's do this. First place was won by Javier Dominguez playing Black, Blue, Green Delver. This deck also took 6th place as well. You might remember Delver of Secrets from when it dominated Standard a few years ago. It never really left competitive play. Bug Delver is a deck that wins using high quality creatures like Delver of Secrets, Tarmogoyf, True Name Nemesis, and Deathrite Shaman. It also plays Dark Confidant as one of its many ways of drawing cards. The rest of the deck is a control shell. Hand attack spells Thoughtseize and Hymn to Turok help neuter your opponent's plans. You also have the classic control editions of Force of Will, Daze, Brainstorm, and Liliana of the Veil. The deck has a very aggressive start with the Shaman, Tarmogoyf, and Delver, but then backs it up with a ton of control. It is not fun to play against. This next deck came in 2nd, 4th, and 8th, making it the most popular strategy in the top 8. Miracles is a deck that does exactly what you'd think it does. Entreat the Angels and Terminus headline a deck made for control players. The idea is to manipulate your library with Sensei's Divining Top so you can Miracle your Entreat whenever you want Angels, or Miracle your Terminus when stuff really needs to go away. The Top's value doesn't end there. One of the best cards in Legacy for some time, Counterbalance is a 2 blue mana enchantment that makes your opponents hate you and never want to talk to you again. You obviously want to win with your Angels, but if you're having a hard time getting there, Counterbalance can give you a ton of time. Considering you're playing Ponder, Brainstorm, and Sensei's Divining Top, you'll know what the top card of your library is more often than not. That's how the deck wins. They get the top out, start sculpting the best hand possible, clear away anything they don't like with Supreme Verdict, Swords to Plowshares, and Terminus, then play some Miracled Angels or maybe even a Vendilion Click. It's a control deck. It makes you feel helpless while playing things that fly. And Snapcaster Mage. Wherever Reanimate is legal, the deck known as Reanimator is sure to follow. This 3rd place finisher is a Legacy classic. The deck is simple. It uses Careful Study and Entomb to dump fatties like Gristlebrand and Iona's Shield of Emeria into the graveyard. From there, chaos ensues. Exhume and Reanimate can bring anything back from the yard, and Show and Tell's in the deck just to make sure Gristlebrand hits the battlefield even if you can't get him into the graveyard first. This is a very all-in deck. You play your game regardless of what the other person's doing, at least most of the time. You need your gigantic guys in play to win, so the rest of the deck is built to do just that. A combination of counter spells and draw spells help you achieve your goal. As far as blue decks in Legacy go, this one's a little less complicated than most. Imperial Painter, a tried and true combo deck, finished in 5th place. The entire deck is designed around the hilarious interaction between Painter's Servant and Grindstone. The idea is that you play the Servant, pick a color, then Grindstone your opponent forever. You can do this because every single card that isn't in play shares a color, since everything's the same color. It's a hysterical combo. The reason it's called Imperial Painter is because the card Imperial Recruiter is used to fetch up the Servant in case you don't just draw it. This deck doesn't run any blue, so card advantage is at a minimum. The rest of the deck is built around surviving long enough to get your combo off. Ensnaring Bridge, Blood Moon, and Phyrexian Revoker are all designed to interrupt your opponent while you fetch up your combo. The deck is cool, but it has some pretty shaky matchups and does take a bit of luck to be successful sometimes. 7th place was earned by an interesting take on a deck that's been around for a while. The deck is normally called Stoneblade. It's given this name because it runs Stoneforge Mystic and a bunch of equipment. Of course, by a bunch, I mean 2, maybe 3. They're usually a combination of Umezawa's Jite, Batterskull, and if you live on the edge, Sword of Fire and Ice. The strategy is usually white, blue, black with a ton of control to protect the Stoneforge. However, this variation was quite different from the standard. Made a format joke. The version of this deck we're going to talk about is white, blue, black, green Deathblade. Stoneforge Mystic is still a big part of the strategy, but Deathrite Shaman and Dark Confidant are relatively new additions to the team. It still runs Jite and Batterskull as win conditions, but has also added in Entreat the Angels and Zealous Persecution to the main deck. I certainly wouldn't call that common practice. Anyways, the deck functions much like a control deck would. You get your Stoneforge out early, grab yourself an overpowered equipment that should really be banned because it's insanely good, and the fact that you can just get it into your hand on turn 2 with very little risk to you and then not even have to cast it to get it into play. What was I talking about? Right. Play Mystic, counter things, draw cards, put your equipment into play, win. With the addition of True Name Nemesis, this deck might start gaining some steam again. That card is amazing. Ever wonder why you can't find Mind Seize Commander decks in stores? Yeah, you can blame Legacy for that. Well, I tried to give as much of a general rundown as I could of the top 8 decks in this past weekend's Grand Prix. Is Legacy a format you're interested in hearing more about? Any feedback you have is appreciated. Just remember, most people aren't Legacy aficionados, so explanations of decks is necessary here. Next weekend, we have a Star City Games Open in St. Louis, Missouri. We'll be back this time next week with those results. Maybe even Legacy 2 if that's something you might be interested in. As always, subscribe below for the latest and most reliable Magic the Gathering information you could ever need. This is the Mana Source. I'm Wedge. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.